Welcome to Module 6 of BAD-2140. It's hard to believe that we only have 2 weeks left to go in this short semester. Now, this week we're going to start our final section in the book, and we're going to look at strategic actions and strategic implementation. We'll look at corporate governance in Chapter 10 and follow that up by looking at organizational structure and controls in Chapter 11. Now, Chapter 10 examines the notion of corporate governance, or establishing the relationship among stakeholders that defines the direction for an organization and what controls are put in place. Our discussion in this area is driven by the difference between a sole proprietorship, an individual who owns the company, and a company owned, at least in part, by shareholders. The reason this governance element is so important is that shareholders must know that decisions in the organization are being made for the overall good of all, not just the owner. As you'll see in your reading, the three key elements to accomplish this include the ownership model, the board of directors, and executive compensation. Each of these has a significant impact on how we move an organization forward. That last one is very important and something we hear often about in the news: executive compensation. Remember, compensation is much more than just base pay. For instance, according to Axios, Netflix's CEO Reed Hastings' salary for 2019 was just $700,000. Well, I say $700,000. That's a lot of money to any of us, but to a CEO, that would seem like a fairly low pay. However, his total compensation package was $38.58 million for the year. So where does the other $38.1 million come from? Executive compensation can take many forms, mostly including incentives, allowances, perks such as planes, cars, even homes, and of course, stocks. The key is for organizations to create a strategic plan that promotes performance through incentives, but is also sufficient to attract the best candidates. No high-performing executive is going to take a difficult job without being fairly compensated. In Chapter 11, we'll examine how an organization's structure impacts its operations. Topics such as reporting relationships, procedures, controls, and the decision-making process itself define the broad scope of this impact. Strategy and structure influence each other. Overall, though, strategy has a stronger influence on structure. Research indicates that firms tend to change structure when declining performance forces them to do so. Effective managers anticipate the need for structural change and quickly modify structure to better accommodate the firm's strategy when evidence calls for that action. Now, your activities for this week: in MindTap, you'll read chapters 10 and 11. You'll do M6A1, the guided case study. In My Learning, review chapters 10 and 11 PowerPoint slides, the M6A2 assignment, the organizational strategic plan, and the M6D1 discussion on structure and strategy. Remember, I say it every week, have your initial post in by midnight on Sunday night, and be sure to use references in your writing. I hope each of you has a great week this week, and I look forward to seeing your work in this class. Thank you.